Good evening, Internet. Welcome back to another, welcome back to another edition of LL Cool Games and I, Nomad from the Retro Wildlands, getting together and talking about the indie RPG gem. I don't know of any other way to describe this game, Sea of Stars. Lindsay, how the heck have you been? I feel like it has literally been since like the moment we ended last week's stream since I talked to you last. How's it going?
I know, we jumped so fast last week. It's been good. It's been a busy week again, getting life kind of ready again to get back to school, and everything around the house has been nuts. And a week goes by really quick right now.
Oh yeah, big time. Our kids actually go back to school tomorrow. I'm so excited so they can go learn and be, productive members of society, I think is the goal. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's been crazy around here. The kids are trying to get all their stuff together, and then my girl, she's always got to get everything particular. She got her new backpack and got everything all packed up the way she wants and stuff, and it's adorable. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm glad you're doing good. I'm glad the family's doing well and everything. So we have Sir and Lady Flaw Gaming in the chat today. What is happening?
Yay.
Welcome. So, in case you're watching this for the first time, or will watch this later, real quick, just to kind of set the stage. So, kind of like I mentioned off the top there, Lindsay and I are playing through Sea of Stars for the first time together, and we're trying our best to actually keep pace with ourselves and play the game kind of together. That way, when we meet every Tuesday, which has been pretty reoccurring for the most part at 9 o'clock Eastern, we kind of bring together our thoughts, our experiences, and talk about some of the things that happened in the game. It's been really fun, and it's been a great way for us to stay
Yeah.
accountable and actually play a game to completion, because adulthood is messy and gets in the way of stuff a lot. So in our last stream, and before I get into it, actually, let me turn on the banner of spoiler warning here.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, so since we are playing through this game and talking about our experiences with it, there is a danger of gameplay and story spoilers up to the point that we have played. So those that have played the game before, we are potentially talking up until the point where we have gone through the aftermath of the battle with the Dweller of Strife. If you played the game and you know that battle, you know kind of where we're at. Now, if you've not played the game before and you don't want to get things spoiled for you, we'll dance around it as much as we can, but you run the risk of spoiling this awesome game for you. And as much as we would love for you to stick around this stream, don't spoil this game for you, because we have finally gotten to like the part that I think makes this game awesome.
Right. Well, and
So
this week too, there was something that totally caught me off guard, and I was just like, did that really just happen? So, right, if you don't want spoilers, wait, I guess. Wait
right,
till you're playing. Come back.
or do you like our good friend Sean Stone, who decided to pick up the game himself, and
Right.
he's rolling through it now, I think. So yeah, be like Sean, buy the game if you haven't already.
Play along with us. Yeah, hurry up, Sean. Then you can get in here. We'll make you get on here and talk about it.
It's gonna be awesome. So that's kind of where we're at. As far as where we left off from last stream, it's kind of fuzzy, I think, where we left off. But let's see here. I was a lot farther ahead of you at the time, so we didn't talk about too much.
Yes.
But we got to the point where we have a new party member. His name, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, Rashawn.
That's how I'm saying it.
Yeah, he's kind of a cloaked individual. You can't see his face. His eyes are just little white bug eyes, if you will. And
Yeah.
we learned that he is he's this ethereal being called calls himself the Archivist, and he joins our party after a little bit of exposition, and we find out that he has some ties to the Fleshmancer, the big bad guy that we're.
Easy.
So a lot of stuff going on, but he joined us up with us, and he wouldn't let us he wouldn't come with us until we got what was it, his item called the Vial of Time. And
Yeah.
I think that quest was a little underwhelming, but we got the Vial of Time, and now we have Rashawn in our party, and I think that's kind of where we left off.
Yeah.
So Let's get into this puppy. I'm excited, Lindsay. This is going to be awesome. So
Yeah, I'm like, I haven't played Balatro because every minute that I've had to sit down and play, I wanna play Sea of Stars, which is big right now. Because there for a while, I didn't I didn't wanna play, but now
yeah,
we're back to it, and the story is just hauling right now, so it's
A-
awesome.
and I actually kind of wanted to start our discussion talking about that specifically, and see if you and I are kind of aligned here, because there have definitely been some times through our Sea of Stars journey where I'll sit down with this game and look at the title screen and just go,
Yep.
uh, and
Yeah.
it's not that the game is bad, so just put that aside really quick. But you
No.
and I both agree that there are some parts of this game that are they could be better. The boss battles, there's some that are
Yeah.
wonderful, others not so much. But I I didn't really feel like there was a lot hooking me to the story, and I didn't feel like there was a lot of stakes. And I was kind of slogging along a little bit there. So I sounds like you feel the same way.
Yeah, I think, especially right, like, once you got that I call it a time turner, right, Harry Potter.
Uh-huh.
Um, Once we got that, and then it's like, okay, because like, at the be again, we've talked about this over and over again. At the beginning, it's just like, there's so much to kind of take in, and they have to feed it to you, right, kind of bit by bit, so that you're like, "Okay, here are my characters, this is what I'm doing." Um, and then the way that the story evolved this time with some of the cool time things that this game has been doing with the flashbacks, especially this time, I thought were really well done. And it kind of clarified a couple of things that I don't know, it almost didn't matter. But then once I know what had happened, it mattered a lot more.
Yeah, I agree. It's one thing to allow the player to kind of discern some backstory or maybe leave some bits and pieces to the imagination, but that's kind of the fine line you walk with games. You it either has to be done so well that you can kind of make up your own narrative or be okay with the gaps, or you have to have
Yeah.
that backstory to understand what the hell is going on. And in this case, I think we needed
Right.
some of that backstory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So yeah, I have not been well, I've been enjoying this playthrough, but yeah, I've not been like chomping at the bit until I got done with my last playthrough,
Mhm.
and now it's like everything else that I'm playing is going by the wayside, and I want to finish this game now because
Yes.
finally, and I said the word earlier, stakes. Now there's stakes in this story. Like there's an actual
Yes.
tangible. Sure, the world was at stake, but how many movies have you seen where the
Yeah.
right
Right.
the end of the world is always at stake? It's just kind of what it is. But now there's something much more personal at stake, and we
Yeah.
feel that in our hearts actually, and we'll get there in due time. But now we're in. So yeah, we're aligned. We're in this thing now.
Yeah.
The slog is over. So awesome. Now, what I wanted to kind of ask you too, kind of in line with that as well, is uh, before we get into the story. So now we have, and you can see them by the campfire there, a little bit to my this way. There they are, over there by the campfire. We have what I assume is our full. We have our full party now. We have Zale, we have Valir, we have Garl, we have Sarai. I think is how I'm going to call her, our assassin,
Right,
and then
yeah. The
and then
ninja, yeah.
yeah, and then Rashawn. So we've got a good, healthy party now. So I wanted to ask you. I know we can kind of flip party members on the fly during battle, but do you have a
Hmm.
main group of three that you constantly keep using?
I do, and that's actually one of the interesting bits here is after we get to a part and it kind of is choosing party members for you, and so I've always had Valere as my lead, right?
Yeah,
She's the girl, she's the tough one, so she's always been my party main, and usually it's yeah, Valere and Sun Guy, and then Rashawn, just honestly because I love his sprite work and his attack. Plus, every time his basic attack does group damage. So yeah, you're gonna be doing it. Sarai's not in there very often, and I love you, Garl, but you don't. And I know part of the reason he doesn't do much is because I haven't been leveling up his attack as much, and maybe I should work on that. But, yeah, it's the main 2 and then Rashawn right now.
Okay, I got you. I actually have not been using Rashawn a lot. It's actually to a point where I'm using more of his abilities than anything, and I actually don't think I realized that his
Yeah.
basic attack is a group attack. It's actually gonna change.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to check that out. But I I don't use Sarai all that often either. I feel like her attack is weak.
Yeah.
I like some of her special abilities. I especially like one of Sarai's abilities. I can't think of the name of it offhand, but it will actually kick an enemy so hard that they have to wait a couple extra turns
Yes.
to attack.
Yeah, the boot party. Yeah, I
Yes.
don't remember what it's called either. But yes, that's amazing, and it works on bosses. So,
Yes.
yeah, she gets called in just to kick people. Yeah.
Right. It's like I need one more turn to bust that lock so I can break that spell before it actually lands. Yo, Sarai, give him the boot. Sweet chin music. Let's
Yeah,
go.
that's awesome.
But that's really about all I use her for. I actually have been staying with the
Mhm.
three main characters. Zale leads my party. I've been kind of specking him out whenever he levels up. I've been trying to give him more magic attack because I love his sunball
Yep.
ability. Like
Yeah.
I my philosophy with most games is I favor attack over defense because the enemy can't
Yep.
hurt me if they're dead.
Yep, they're
So
already gone. Yes.
right. So
Oh,
I
that's so Final Fantasy. It's like, I'll just level this up 10 times above everybody else, and it won't matter. Yeah.
it's pretty much what it is. But I actually struggled in the beginning because part of me was like, I want him as like a physical powerhouse with his blade, but then I'm like, no, his sunball's
He's
all magic.
not.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but I use him. He's my main walking around. But then
Okay.
I have Valir in the party as well, and I have Garl. And with
Mhm.
Garl, anytime he levels up, if I have the chance, I boost anything that's defensive to extend his survivability because one of his better abilities, granted it only works on a single party member, but it's that nourish ability where he digs into a
Yeah,
sack and throws food at you.
it is nice.
So he's kinda the healer, but at the same time too, he can use, just regular food items, and I've got 3 out of my 10 food slots. I can't think of the name of the dish, shame on me, but it's one that revives you, so you don't have to wait for someone to get back up on their own. So
Is
he's
it a parfait?
I think it's the parfait.
I just bought a parfait and I was like, "Oh, yes! This exists." I was so happy.
I
Yes.
know. It's wonderful. Granted, they don't depict it like this in battle, but I could just imagine like just Zale on his face, knocked out. Right. And Garl comes over, grabs his backpack, pulls out a handful of parfait, and just shoves it in their
Yeah.
mouth. It's just like, come on, friend, we gotta
Eat
go.
it quick. Yeah.
But yeah, but those are my three. But I think I need to experiment a little bit more with Rashawn now that you say that his attack is an area of effect type of an attack. So I've got to
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, I have a problem, and this extends into Final Fantasy games that I play a lot too, especially like Final Fantasy 7, 10. Like when you start the game with like a core set of characters and you get to know them and you get to learn their abilities and
Yeah.
stuff like that, I rarely change them out for others just because it's like, no,
Mhm.
I'm satisfied. I don't like
They're
change.
my family. Yeah.
Right. So, well, cool. Yeah, I was just curious to kind of see how your tastes evolved over time a little bit, but we'll have to see how the rest of the game kind of evolves because, like you mentioned before, depending on the battle and sometimes the boss, we're forced to use certain party members, and it's not like they're going to be under leveled or anything. They all level together. It's just I don't know. We'll have to change
Right.
tactics on the
Which
fly
is
sometimes.
crazy. What other games lets you level up in an RPG like this? Lets you level up if somebody's dead at the end of a fight and
Yep.
lets you level up the whole party, even the people who aren't in actually getting experience. Yeah. Which
Right.
again, this game isn't necessarily about like, oh, the deep strategy and the great battles or anything. They want you to follow the story. So they don't want you necessarily worrying about, ooh, I gotta level up Sarai. She hasn't been in my party for a while. No, just
Right.
just keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a stress that we do not need. God,
No.
I'm sure you've been there, and it's just like you're watching all your tough party members just excel, and you're looking at that one
Yeah.
person going, "There's a story moment coming up for you, and you're not ready. I can feel it."
Right. It's like, ah, crap. I better see what we can do with you. Yeah.
Nice. All right, and speaking of battle, I don't want to harp on battle too much, but another thing I did want to ask you. So one of the cool abilities or things that you can do in battle is use the combo attacks
Yeah.
when you attack or you defend, or even if you time your attacks and defenses, you'll get a boost. But there's a combo meter off to the side of the screen, and it's 3 levels: 1, 2, and 3. And then depending on the
Mhm.
combo skill that you use so many of them or what have you. But I I have found that I have not, well, at least in the beginning, I never really used the combo abilities all that much because by the time I'd get one, the battle'd be half over anyway.
You were
So I
done. Right.
right, so I never used them. But lately, I feel like there's more opportunity to use these combo abilities in some of the more advanced battles that we're
Hmm.
at now. So I was curious, are you using the combo system pretty frequently, or is it kind of a non-factor for you, or are you somewhere in the middle?
I hmm. If so I have two right now that I use really regularly, right? So the sun and moon combo where they just walk up and whack them.
Yep.
And
Nice.
that's just a one level combo, super easy. You can get some timing bonus with that one, but it's not anything like amazing. And then I just recently got one that is Valair and Rashan. That again, he throws bottles? Yeah,
Yeah.
and then she throws her boomerangs, and it does again, it does group damage. Um, and that one doesn't seem to have any timing bonuses at all, now that I'm thinking about it, because he just kinda throws them, and she throws her boomerangs, and that's really it. Um, but I feel like I'm missing so again, I'm trying to not cheat. As much as I love to find everything, I'm trying to just go on my own and go wander through stuff and kind of, right? I'm not gonna look up where all the conch shells are. I'm not gonna look up. So I think I'm missing some right, like I'm trying to think if I even have any like Garl and Valair combos, right? Like I think I'm missing some combos. Um which is disappointing, but at the same time, I'm not super worried that the fights are gonna hold me back, so I guess I'm not gonna sweat about it too much.
Makes sense. I'm picking up my Switch right now and booting up my save because now I'm curious. I don't
Right.
know. I don't I
Right?
don't I don't know if I have any either, actually, to be honest with you. But
Right?
I have used that one with Rashawn and Valair. I think it's really awesome. There's got to be a timing element
Yes.
to it. I feel like everything does, but I couldn't find it
I
either.
know. No.
But I will say the ones that I gravitate towards is I think one's called Mending Light. It's a two out of three combo,
Oh,
and that's
yeah.
the group heal.
I don't
Um,
ever wait. I'm so bad at waiting to even get level 2. Like, I'm like, "Oh, combo, do it." Yeah.
oh, I can't actually look at my combo skills until I get in battle somewhere. Ah, tisk. Anyway, but
Really? You would
yeah, at
think
least
they
not
would let you access that. Come
you
on.
would you would think, but no, I use that one. I like that heal. Plus, like I'm just frugal. I think it comes from like all the survival horror games I've played. I don't like using items unless I absolutely have to. So I'm like, oh, free heal.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll use that instead. But I
Yeah.
love there's a combo move with Zale and Garl where Zale will throw his sunball at Garl and Garl will smack it with his pot lid and it'll do group
Mhm.
damage. I like that one particularly.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I even have that one. See, I think I miss a lot of stuff.
Some of those combo abilities you find and in the field all they are just like little scrolls with wings, I think they are.
Right.
Like
Like,
there's
and
a
because I just found one recently, and I'm trying to think even what it was because it was underwhelming. So I probably haven't even used it. Shoot. Yeah.
What could it possibly been Garl and Sarai's item roulette? Do you have that one?
Yeah, because that's absolutely something that I would not use. Have you used it? What does it do?
So item roulette, Sarai will create one of her Doctor Strange portals on the ground and then about up
Excellent.
here, and then there's these
Uh-huh.
items that are just flying through, and you have to press your button to stop,
Hmm.
and Garl will grab an item out of the void. Um, I've only ever grabbed two.
Okay.
Yeah, so one of them is a rubber duck, which is awesome because it floods the entire battlefield with water, and everyone takes like a crap ton of damage. It's really cool.
Oh
Um,
my. Okay.
and then the other one, I think, was like an anvil, and it just did massive damage to one enemy. It was kind of cool, but there's like 7 or 8 items floating around, and it's like I want to just kind of experiment and see what they are, but at the same time,
Oh
like,
wow.
yeah,
I'm in a boss battle. It's not
it,
time to play roulette.
right. Like
Hmm.
trying to think. I can't think of a character off the top of my head, but like I could be misquoting, and I'm sure the Final Fantasy fans will come out in droves to correct me. But Final Fantasy VII, I think Kate Sith, the giant cat thing on top of the
Yeah.
Mog, I think he's got either a limit break or some other ability that's like damage is based purely on a dice roll. It's all chance, and
Yeah.
if you land like all sixes or whatever, of course you're going to do the most amount of damage. But if you roll snake eyes, you do nothing or very little damage. And like, while I
Yeah.
love the potential of something like that, like I
Right.
can't rely on chance. I got to rely on brute force and skill. Like I can't do it.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
but yeah, all right. So I was curious about our combo abilities. So I was yeah, curious where you landed. Um,
Yeah.
I've one more off the wall question, and we'll dive into kind of how we've been going with the story. So you and I have been through the oh crap, what's it called? The was it just called the Clock Tower Castle? Was it that generic of a name? I think
Yes. It was Clock Tower Castle. I know. It was
which
gorgeous.
it was. I don't even know how to put this into context, and if someone like made me explain this to them, I don't know how I could, but something about like clocks and gears, and maybe it's just a steampunk aesthetic. I don't really gravitate towards that, and I'm not entirely sure why.
Okay.
But that castle was gorgeous. Everything
Yeah.
was graphically done up really well. All the gears moving around was awesome to see. I, it was cool. I'll give it that. Very cool, and the music was pretty on point too. Um, But the last thing I wanted to ask you is when we get near the end of the castle, we have to get the master key to unlock the final area
Yeah.
before we fight the Dweller of Strife. So we come across
Uh-huh.
the I think she's
The
just
Clock
called the
Keeper.
yeah, the clock keeper, the watchmaker. She is very busy, doesn't have time to really converse with us. And if you
Yeah.
look around her little area, she's just like, no, don't touch that stuff. Okay.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
noticed I noticed there was a wheels table and on the right side of her little office there. Um,
There
did you
was.
did you try to interact with it at all?
I did. I walked over and she says, "You haven't even beaten all the champions. You don't even like stand a chance." And I was like, "Okay, so you can't play her until you have beaten all the other champions at all the other tables."
S-
And I'm
s-
like, "Dang, okay."
So those that have been on previous streams, I've made it abundantly clear that I don't care for the wheels mini game in this game,
Wheels.
and it's not that it's bad. I just don't have the patience to learn how to play it. That's all. I'm just stubborn.
There's a
It's nothing.
lot. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I played a couple games. I see the genius in it. I'm sure it's fine. But when I I have no desire to go figure out who these champions are. But the only reason I bring this up, Lindsay, is I just kind of wanted to ask, like, are you aware that there are Wheels champions that you need to defeat, and have you come across any?
So when you go to the tables, it says you can play a casual game or you can play a championship game. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's just at all the tables there's a separate champion. But right again, like just like your quiz master, who I still think is made up because I haven't found him yet. There's these like hidden things that unless you come across it, unless you've decided to make it part of your Sea Stars experience, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the minute I walked in there, I was like, "Yes, wheels!" And she wouldn't even play me.
I know
Like, "Okay,
she's
never
not even nice
mind."
about it. It's just like, "Hey,
No.
I just wanna subtly let you know that you suck, and I'm not gonna give you the time of
You are
day.
trash.
You're
Don't
just
even talk to me about it. Take your
garbage."
dumb key that I won't even acknowledge and get out. Yeah.
I found that hilarious. So I don't know. If I enjoyed Wheels or gave it the time and decided I liked it, like I kind of like that. There's something about going around the world and finding the champions. Like I think Final Fantasy VIII Triple Triad, which I still think is one of the greatest mini games of all time. I'll die on that hill swinging.
It is.
Um, you had to go around, and I can't remember what group they belonged to, but you basically had to find X amount of Triple Triad champions and beat them at their own game. And I enjoyed that because you're building your deck up, you're learning, and it's the ultimate challenge, and you don't have to do it, but you get great rewards if you do. And I'm sure it's this
So
way.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I'll pass. But you'll have to let me know if you get the spur of inspiration to try to take one on and see. So
Right? Yeah, I haven't played any championship games. I've gotten so I can win, like, the casual games for the most part. When I walk up to a table, I can handle it. But, yeah, I don't know about a champion game. Ugh.
nice. Well, if you do, let me know. But until then, I have another triple triad follower. So there we go.
Yes.
All right, good deal. All right. So we're about halfway through. It's time to talk about our journey so far and where we're at as we go through the Sea of Stars. Now, actually, we'll get to it, but they actually use Sea of Stars in dialogue.
No, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's the title of the game." It's so nerdy. Yes.
Oh, it's great. It's like when you watch a movie and in dialogue they use the name of the movie, you know? It's just like what is it? It's just like this terrorist poses a clear and present danger to the country. It's like, "Oh,
We're
he
like,
said the thing."
"Oh, man.
So I think that was a Family Guy joke.
Nobody
Either
knew
way,
he was gonna say that." Yeah.
I I know it's like it was perfect, but no, the Sea of Stars is a thing, and we're actually we're to a point now where we're making our way towards the Sea of Stars in an effort to make our final confrontation against the Flesh Panzer. All right, so
This
let's
feels
talk
very
about
downhill. I'm anticipating, right, that we're wrapping up. Like,
we're get we're
now
getting
that we're on
there.
a clock. Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting there now. So those of you watching with us live, or even watching this after we're done recording, strap in. We're in for a journey now. Things are starting to ramp up pretty
Yeah.
quick. So, all right. So you and I had left off where we had gotten the vial of time to get Rashawn
Yep.
to join the party. So now we're a party of five.
Mhm.
Um, party of five. Was that a show? A band? Never mind.
It's
Uh,
Matthew Fox. Yes, it was.
good lord.
I know.
All right, so the kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but we head towards a uh, the save state calls this area of the game the Hills of Intent. And really all I remember about this
Ooh.
one is we're going through these. This is where you fought that leaf monster that you messaged me about, by the way.
Yeah. This is so cool. That's so crazy.
Yeah, this area, I cannot, and I should have took better notes. I can't remember the name of the actual area that we were in, but it's another kind of outdoorsy, hillsy area with a couple push the block puzzles with your hand air or whatever. But
Hi, Rob.
hey, Rob, what's happening? Let's bring you up on the screen so we can look at you. It's good to have you, Retro Rob. Hey, if you guys are listening or
I'm
watching
on
this
next.
right
Yeah,
now,
good.
yeah, nice.
No,
Make sure you guys check out Retro Rob on YouTube if you have not before, and subscribe. And then if we do, tell
yes.
them that Nomad and Lindsay sent you. Um,
Right. It's their
and
fault.
yeah,
Yes.
and to entice you to go check out Retro Rob, I heard he cut his hair recently, and you should check it out.
Did.
Oh, that's awesome. Um, But in any case, but this area that we're in, granted, it's another hilly area with the block puzzles, like I mentioned. I don't know if you
Yeah.
can, if you remember this or not, but the one thing that really stuck out to me about this area was of all the music that's in this game, and the music just slaps
Hmm.
all the way around. Yeah, slaps is what my kids say,
Yeah.
so I'm allowed to use it. Um, the music here was awesome. It was like this
So good.
subtle electric guitar, especially when you get into battle. And I'm just like, you know what? I've been battling this entire game. I'm gonna go in one more time because I just want to hear that. Perfect.
Right.
It's perfect. But then we get to this leaf monster, which it sounds not exciting, and it isn't really. But the way this battle gets set up was kind of interesting. Um,
It's hilarious. I
yeah,
was not I
yeah.
was not ready.
Yeah, walk us through this. I want to see if your experience was the same as mine.
So, okay, right. So, because it's another one of those areas where it's like such and such hike, right? So you know it's just transition space getting you, right, leveling you up and getting you to the next area. So you walk into an area and the door shuts behind you, and I'm like, okay, so there must be a puzzle. And we were in the car, and so I was just kinda goofing around, and yeah, so then I'm like, "Foof," I'm like foofing the leaves around, and then it's animating when you foof the leaves, and I'm like, "Oh, shoot, like, look, I'm making a pile," and I even showed
Yeah.
the kids in the seats, but I'm like, "Look, I'm making a leaf pile," and then it was like, "Oh, shit." Like, I just made a monster, and now I have to fight it because I had to play with the leaves, so now I'm being punished. I don't even know, and it was, like, the most I don't even know, like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, like, boss fight that there's ever been, right?
That
Like, crazy, like, blazing music, you hit him a couple times, he flashes, the moveset changes, like, it was great. It was totally unexpected. Yeah.
it absolutely was, and like I knew it was a puzzle, and I love the attention to detail, to where it's just like you're having fun pushing around a pile of leaves with the
Yeah.
wind coming out of your hand, right? And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's just like you solved the puzzle. Now fight. What?
Like,
but but
I put a screenshot up on it if you wanna throw the leaf monster up.
oh yeah,
I did put one up on there because it's
yeah.
hilarious. Like, what? You're fighting sticks and leaves, and he'll, like, go like this, he goes like and grabs all the leaves and throws them at you. It's just like, it is the corniest yeah, it's the corniest fight. It was so much fun.
Oh yeah,
There's no reason that fight exists. Yeah.
and I love the fact that you called it a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle type of a monster, because you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what that is. Like, yeah, it was.
Yes.
But okay, let me ask you this: you and I have been very vocal about how we feel about the bosses in this game. Where would you rank this particular encounter?
This was really fun for no reason, right? Like, he
Yeah,
didn't do anything special. We didn't get anything special except the door opened, right? It was just a silly fight that this was great fun. This was way better than the dumb garden plant thing. This is so much fun.
yes, I 100% agree, and it kind of made you think too, because then it would throw its leaves at you, and then it took a while for the leaves to come back, and that was your
Come
opportunity
back,
to
right?
right. So you could attack, gather up your orbs to charge your attacks, and then unleash when you had that moment. It was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, very arcadey. So, but yeah, it was
It was
fun.
so fun.
This was a very fun one. So I 100% agree. Um, let's see here. So after we take out the leaf monster, we come face to face with two of our Solstice Warriors mentors, Brewgraves and Elena. And they still, for some reason, do not have our best intentions in mind. They
Uh-uh.
are they're in cahoots with the enemy, and to kind of bring those that are along for the spoiler ride up to speed here, they decided to side with the still somewhat unknown enemy at this point to
Yeah.
bring about the Dweller of Strife and basically just bring about the end of the world seemingly. There's probably something in it for them larger down the road, but really their only motivation is They were born on either the winter or the summer solstice, became solstice warriors, and have to live with the responsibility of it. And both of them were kind of like, nah, we kind of just want to live our lives our way. And that's their motivation. And I, not saying they're right, but I think I kind of get where they're coming from and I empathize with them a little bit. But at the same time, it's
Yeah.
like, if I didn't want to go to work one day, I wouldn't like destroy my place of employment. I would
The
just leave.
entire world, right?
Right. Or just be like,
Like,
if
no, the whole world can die. It's fine. Yeah.
right, if I have to file one more TPS reports, I'm bringing it all down.
Yeah. Which,
Oh,
so that was, yeah, what a goofball.
until
Um,
they make
that
like a
was
tree
one
and
of
get.
the seriously.
All right,
This is what the
vindictive.
internet is good for.
All right, until someone can top that, vindictive gets the best comment of the stream. Thanks, all
It's
of that.
good. See if post offices. Oh my gosh.
Nice.
So we get that flashback where we go back to when they were little kids training and we see the really young elder, which I thought was really funny.
Right.
Um, and so right, so we get the actual like traumatic story of what happened to them as kids. But yeah, you kind of get the feeling that even from little bitty, like Erlina didn't want this. And then they lived through that huge loss of all the other solstice warriors. And then she's like, "Whoa, I totally don't want to do this anymore."
Right.
And yeah, Brewgraves, which is the worst name in a video game. Um, I'm like, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for him to turncoat and to come maybe at the end, right? Maybe when right, because Erlina is absolutely going to be part of the final of this game. Maybe he's going to help us to defeat her. I don't know. Because he
Maybe.
seems to really have a soft spot for our two Sun Guy and Moon Girl here.
It definitely does. And I really liked this part in the game because to me it did two things exceptionally well. One, it provided us the backstory that we needed. Kind of like we had talked about earlier in the stream. It's like you either need to be able to leave something up to the to interpretation enough to where you're okay with not knowing, or you need to be told what the
Yeah.
motivation is, or you can infer it. And now we kind of understand what Brewgraves and Alina's motivation is. It's they don't want to do this, and one of the bigger reasons they don't want to do this anymore is they lost all their solstice warrior friends and family to the Dweller of Strife, which segues into the other thing I think they do really well in this area is now, I mean, they paint these dwellers up to be just these crazy, just otherworldly beings that we have no hope of defeating. Granted, we've defeated what,
Yeah.
two up to this point, so they're not
I
that
know,
bad.
we're not doing bad.
Right, but even still, seeing that this creature invoked that much of a turn for them elevates this third dweller to still feel like, do I have what it takes to beat this thing? And
Yeah.
I love that the narrative continues to just build upon that. Like it's never like a walk through the park. So that moment did those two things really well for me. And I think that's where, I don't know how you feel, but that's the moment where I'm like, okay, now we're getting somewhere with this story.
Yeah. Well, and that the battle itself too was a great, again, kind of that creepy setting, and the music was really quiet, and it was kind of like, this is kind of a big deal. Like, what is happening? But then you're attacking, and it does like nothing, right? Because you're using that laser thing. Um,
Yeah.
it's all right. So then I'm trying to time things and make sure I'm doing elemental damage. And then, yeah, it was kind of a
Yeah.
long battle for me just because I'm not good at making sure I'm using the orbs and doing the elemental damage stuff. Um, to get that laser to charge up and um yeah. And then it was like, oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Which is kind of it was a really frustrating way to end a fight. Like, I'll
it
just I'll just say.
it was it was pretty lackluster, but we'll get there. I really want to talk to you about
Yeah.
that, and especially what happens afterwards. God damn. Anyway, So after we get Brewgrave's backstory and we get our understanding as to why our mentors are now jerks to us, we head to
Yeah.
the Song Shroom Marsh, which is this
Mm.
swamp with singing mushrooms.
Singing mushrooms, and you're
I
walking along, and then the mushrooms animate and sing, and I'm like, "What is this?"
I
Yeah.
I don't know how you felt about this. Like, if I just look at this area for what it was, just on its own, it was great. The music was great. The mushrooms were
The
singing, and
music
and
was great.
it was
Yeah.
awesome. But I almost felt like it was a weird tonal shift. We just got this serious backstory dropped on us, and now it's like, oh, those mushrooms are singing. How am I supposed to feel right
Yeah,
now?
I know. Yeah,
But
maybe that was on purpose, right? Maybe they were like, "Ooh, we need to soften this up a little bit so people keep playing."
it's
Um,
not a bad
yeah,
point. I mean, some of the heavy things in this game have like literally come out of nowhere, and to a point where
yeah.
they are impactful. So yeah, it was probably that probably was a method to be like, it's okay, keep
It's
going.
gonna be fine. Just keep
S-
going. That's right.
s-
Oh, look at the mushrooms. Which some of the stupid light puzzles in this area, I wound up the one where you had to move, so you had to get like the moon mushrooms to like expand so you could jump on them.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Or then you had to shine the light on like the light mushrooms. I don't even know what to call stuff.
Yeah.
Right, to get them to kinda go up and down, and I'm like, "Why am I playing this game? This is miserable." Like,
Yeah.
some of those puzzles I get stuck on, and then I don't right, I take a break because I hate the controls, honestly, I think is a lot of what it is for me. Because it's like, yeah, I know I have to move the time. I know I have to yeah, I got stuck in the castle a couple times too, and I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" Yeah.
Yeah, I struggle with that because on one hand, I love that the developers, Sabotage Studios, did such a great job with this world in that we're okay, every area has its like unique puzzle shtick, whatever it is, to kind of get out there. And I love that it's not ever
Yeah.
the same. It is creative, and it does make you think. But yeah, this particular area, I think, was just one of those like, okay, you tried an idea, it's not really that fun or engaging trying to make these mushrooms expand and shrink so you can jump on them and trampoline. But oh, you
Yes.
ran out of sun. The mushroom shrunk. Try
Yeah,
again.
go back again.
Yeah,
Yes, and when they've got it built in where I can go back and find a ladder because you know I'm gonna mess it up, so you know I'm gonna have to double back, don't do that. Yeah.
So, but I don't think I could fault the game too much for that, but I still feel that pain because half the time it's just like I just want to
Yeah.
do the thing. I love mushrooms in real life. I love them on my pizza, and my family thinks I'm crazy for it, but this area was not my favorite.
Not my favorite.
uh Vindictive says there was one of those mushroom things I had to YouTube up because it
Yes.
wasn't clear how to proceed. Yeah, I'm probably
Yeah.
picturing it right now. But it was an alright area for what it was, but it paid off in the end when we met the crone of the marsh.
The
This
throne of the swamp. Like,
and
wow, it's really original.
right, the crazy old lady that's living among the weeds, as it were. And I'll be
Yeah.
honest, the interaction with her, other than I think maybe giving was it Garl like another kind of a prophecy of sorts? Maybe it was Zale. I can't remember. Or
Oh,
that
yeah, she did.
yeah, I
Yeah.
hate to say it, but that interaction wasn't all that memorable, with the exception of
No.
when you're done with it and she decides that she's going to sell you items. She sells this
Yeah,
item
her
called
score was
the
great.
yeah, her score, everything was wonderful in there. Um,
Yeah.
there was an item in there called the Eye of Yomari. Jeez
I
Louise.
yeah. It was her
Yo
name. Yeah, Yamara.
Yomara, there we go. Words are hard for me
Yeah.
today. But this accessory, I think, is one of, if not the best in the game, purely because it allows you to see not just enemies' hit points, but their weaknesses and their resistances. So,
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't even say it's making the game easier, but now it just adds even more strategy to the game because now you know exactly how you got to hit something with whomever, and
Mhm.
you can plan your attacks a little bit better. I thought that thing was one. I didn't have enough money for this thing, so I
Yeah.
had to, all the fishing I've been doing up to that point, the 313 fillets I have in my knapsack. I sold every single one of them so I could afford that thing.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I went out and, like, cleared her garden so I could sell her her own, like, fruits and vegetables,
Oh
and
my
yeah, I
god!
did the same thing. Yeah, it's like, "Here, lady. Did you want
Yeah,
some onions?"
yeah.
Yeah.
I found these pre-picked 3 towns over. It's
Yeah.
great.
Well, plus, didn't she have a parfait? Isn't that where I bought my first parfait?
I
Yeah,
that's
that's what I
right. Yep,
thought.
just all
And
this
it
random
wasn't $1,000,000 either, so
no, it was not. That's awesome. So, that area was fine for what it was, but I think the payoff of the accessory kinda made it all worth it, so it was awesome.
yeah.
Um, and then I believe after that is when we make our way to the clockwork castle tower with all the gears and the things.
Yeah.
And this is kind of I didn't make nearly as many notes as I thought I did in this area as far as the story goes, but I think this is kind of roundabouts where we start to dive into the element of not time travel, but just time as kind of a I don't know mechanic, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
Time manipulation, I guess, is the best way to kind of describe that. Like, I'm still kind of lost on some of this sort of stuff, but it kind of starts
Yeah.
here. I I do know, and I don't know if you figured this out before you entered the castle or after, but there's a story that Teeks will read you if you find the right item outside the castle. I guess the whole shtick with this castle is there's a spell or a curse on it or what have you that anything human being wise or creature wise inside the castle does not age. Time basically stops
Oh, okay.
inside the castle, but time still does its thing outside the castle. So let's say you and I decide we're going to hang out in this castle for 200 years, right? Soon as we walk out of that castle, 200 years immediately catches up to us and we are a pile of ash because time
Mm.
slows for no man, as it were. Um, that I thought was kind of cool, but I don't know if that has a larger impact on the story or if that's just kind of a cool one off, like, hey, everyone in this castle is like 10
Yeah.
years old, but for realsies, they're like a million years old, but can't leave or else
And
we'll
they
die.
can't leave. Right.
Yeah, it's an interesting
Interesting.
yeah, it's an interesting idea. I'm curious if it's going to pay off story wise a little bit more later, but that kind of stuff is a little lost on me. But there is one question I do want to ask you when we get to the end of our discussion about this whole time manipulation universe thing that we're starting to unravel here, and see if you and I are
Cool.
thinking the same thing. It's it's I hate to keep making the comparisons, but it's a lot like a Final Fantasy story where it's like, okay, we got our generic bad guy, which gives way to another bad guy, and now we're doing time things and fighting God. So I wonder if
Right.
I
Hmm.
wonder if we're heading that
Yeah.
way. So, but all right. As we continue through the castle, and I think you touched on it earlier too. This castle was, while it was wonderful to look at, bask in, the layout was a little confusing at times. A little, I think. What do you think?
Um, Again, I like and I appreciate in a game if I'm going down into a cave, they make it like I'm going down into a cave. So again, this game does a good job on making it feel like you're really going up a tower.
Yeah,
And I really did appreciate that, right? Where you're like in the lift and you have to go through the doors and activate and go up another. I appreciate that kind of detail. Some of the puzzles to get going, um, I like one of the first ones you have to use your hook shot, whatever it is, and like pull it and turn the twisty thing. And apparently I wasn't doing it right. So I wasn't getting the door to unlock. And so again, it was one of those where I like took a break. And then when I came back, I was mad at it. So I just whipped it a couple of times and then that did it. Right. Like, why now all of the sudden are you adding in this one weird detail where you have to whip something multiple times? You haven't told us to do that before. That hasn't happened before. Like yeah, I had to
it
have a minute.
It's funny. The only reason I figured out how to circumvent that particular obstacle was I got mad and just kept smashing my button. And it's like, oh, apparently that's the
Right.
key is
Whip, whip,
to
whip, whip, and it's like, oh, the
apparently, all
door
right, that's fine.
opened. Crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, they're adding new things. I get it, but ugh, come on.
But right, that one's a chore. And then right, going up through the castle, the puzzles, right, like you said, they're kind of diverse, but there wasn't a time where I walked into a room and the puzzle wasn't obvious. Like maybe
Mm,
make me work a little bit more, even though we're having to do puzzle upon puzzle. You're right, like the push the block and use the thing and climb the ladder and open the gates. And I don't know, it never was like, oh, what do I do? Like, and then I was super proud when I accomplished it. Like, no.
yeah, it is funny now that you say that. I never really thought about it until now. While there's a lot of puzzles in this game, there's only maybe
Mhm.
one or two that I really think that we had to kind of put our noggins to work. I think the rest of them were just like,
Yeah.
okay, stare at the screen for a minute. Oh, I see the path. Press the thing and do the thing.
Right. Push,
So
push, push, push. Yep.
yeah. So I guess it depends on what kind of a gamer you are. On one hand, that it's kind of nice to just be able to do something different. It breaks the pacing up a little bit to just kind of push some things
That's
around
fair.
and unlock a door. So that's kind of nice for what it is. But I think I agree with you too. Like, I don't want a puzzle that's so hard where I'm just going to throw my head against the wall or anything. But I
Yeah.
would like a little bit of a challenge so that when I do get that treasure chest, it's like, you know what? Dang it, I earned that thing.
Yes.
So yeah, I have a feeling maybe we'll get those opportunities as we're getting towards the end game, just because I almost feel like it's that classic we've had all these game mechanics that we've had to master, the hook shot, the
Yeah.
air gun thing out our hand, if you will, and the moving blocks and the twisty gear, all that sort of stuff, and the mushrooms. I'll bet you those are going to
Yeah.
come back in some capacity. So maybe
Great.
yeah, maybe we'll have that gauntlet, and then it's just like, do you really want to finish this game? Solve this ridiculously hard puzzle. I'm calling it now.
Right? What are those, the celestial something or others? Because we've done a couple of them. Like the elder gave us the key to access the one back on the main island
Oh
when
yeah,
he went to Mirth. Those puzzles are hard. And that
yes,
one is the one puzzle when I was like, yes, like when I got it, I was so happy. Yeah.
yes. Well, yeah, I can't remember solstice shrines. I think they're called,
Yeah, I
right?
think that's yeah.
Yeah. So just for those watching and listening, there's one cave somewhere near like the beginning area of the game. Granted, we got a boat; we can go wherever we want now for the most part. But there's a giant mural that as we solve these solstice shrine
Solstice.
solstice shrine, there we go.
Hey,
There's five little holes, and then the little holes light up each time we solve a shrine.
oh,
So
that's right.
yeah, one would think we solve a ball, we open the thing, we get the reward, all is well with the world. But yeah, those ones
Crazy.
are definitely a lot harder. And I don't know, I you're slightly ahead of me as far as the story goes. I assume we get back in the boat, we can go around the
A
world
little
again
bit.
soon, right?
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So we've got some opportunity to kind of clean some of that stuff up if we want to. So that's good to hear.
Yeah.
So, but all right. Let's keep moving. We got to get to the big part before we part ways this evening. It's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. So, we get to a point. Actually, that reminds me. When we first started the ascent into the clock tower, we do battle with Boograves and Erlina, and
We did.
it's just Zale and Valaire. The rest of the party. Garl takes the hint and he goes, "Hey guys, we should probably sit this one out." And
Right.
this battle was rageful. Zale and Valir didn't want anything to do with their two former
Yeah.
mentors, and Brugraves, to his credit, is kind of like, guys, I don't really want to do this. Come join us. Where Alina, I think, was just more
Yeah.
like, we're doing this. So I don't think that battle was anything to write home about, but I think what stuck out for me was the music in that battle just had this tone of we're doing this to it. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't upbeat, it wasn't like melodic. It was just kind of like steel yourselves, we're doing this.
This is
But
the real stuff now, yeah.
right, and but I will say once we did emerge victorious, it was kind of a lackluster kind of a payoff. Early, and it was just like, all right, that's
Yeah.
enough. Let's leave. And then they walked off, and it's like
Right. Like,
we
"Oh,
just
okay."
right, we just threw down
Yeah.
with two people we trusted that bore us up from nothing, and they're just gonna walk. Okay, bye, I
Okay.
guess.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but
but we do the same thing to them later, right? When all the little shoemaker guys go by and we're like fighting all the bird mask guys.
that's
And
right.
they're like, "Oh," and they turn and we're like, "No, fight us." Like we pull the same trick. Yeah.
So that's a good segue. The little guys that we found in the clock tower have agreed to help us fight the Dweller of Strife when we get there. And you were kind of talking about it earlier. They either build or they already had built this giant we'll call it an eclipse laser for lack of better terminology. I
Yeah.
think that's actually what they call it, but it's got a giant purple, pinkish crystal on top. It's got a drape over it. At first, we don't see it, and they get it to the top of the tower for us, and we'll end up using that in battle here in a second. But before we get to that point, we get to the end of the clock tower, and we get to a point where all we see is like just a fleshy mass, right, and a big
That
beating
was
heart,
gross.
which is yeah, gross as hell, and just like animated so
It
well,
was.
like uh, and then we have the enemies that keep popping up here and there. I think they're literally named 1, 2, 3, and 4.
3 and
Uh,
4.
the
Mhm.
I'll call them the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse for lack of
Yeah,
knowledge there.
they all have the plague masks on too, right? Like, they're interesting looking. Yeah.
Yeah, now up to this point in the game, we fought them before, but it's always just been like onesies, twosies, one on one or two on
Oh, that's
two.
true. Yeah.
This is the first time where they're like, "You can't take us all," and we're in battle with all 4 of them at once. Um,
Mhm.
for me, this battle wasn't difficult, but it was one of the more difficult battles that I have come across in the game so far. Zale
Yeah.
got knocked out every once in a while. I mean, I still pulled through, but I thought it was a pretty good fight, all things considered. Not like super memorable, like there was a gimmick or anything to follow, but I thought it was a pretty decent fight. What were your thoughts?
Um, because they were doing it unless it was like the tank guy throwing the rocks or something, for the most part, they did multiple character damage on their turns, right? Because like the V guy would attack
Mhm.
2 or right, like they weren't just hitting one guy at a time. Um, yeah, so Valere got smoked at one point in time. Um, but yeah, and it was one of those things where it's like, "Oh, we're gonna fight all 4 of these guys," and they even make a comment like, "Oh, it's only 2 to 4," and I was like, "Oh, okay, how is this gonna go?" Yeah, I was glad I didn't have everybody get knocked out. I have not, and I'm jinxing myself saying this, I have not had a battle where everybody has been passed out. I haven't done it yet, so I'm sure we'll get there.
Yep.
Hasn't happened yet.
I've been this close, and it all came
Yeah.
back to Garl saving my life again because, like I mentioned at the beginning, I'm trying to spec him to be my tank, and he had 3 hit points left. I was able to get him to revive one of the 2, and I eventually pulled myself back, but whoa, it was close.
Yeah.
But Garl's going to be doing a lot of saving our lives here in a second. So, uh,
Yes, yes, he is.
oh god. So all right, so we defeat the four plague doctor horsemen of the moon apocalypse,
Yeah.
and then finally it's time to do battle with with the Dweller of Strife. This Dweller that has just been brought up to be this unstoppable killing machine, has laid waste to 20 plus Solstice warriors back in the day, has turned our mentors against us. I am expecting this
I
gigantic
know.
monster, and what do we
Yes.
get?
It's
An
a
eye,
little
an eyeball with
floating
wings.
eyeball.
Little eyeball with wings.
And it is creepy, but
Oh, for sure.
yeah,
It was animated very well. The character designs and the sprites in this game continue to be top tier through
yeah.
and through. But this thing was like I was expecting so much more visually from
Well,
this thing.
especially because you go out onto that, like, tower, and so it coulda taken up, like, the whole one side of the screen, right? Like, and that's totally what I was anticipating, like, it's gonna be this huge thing, like, lurking over the tower, gonna be giant. No, it was a flying eyeball.
Could you imagine? Like, I'm picturing this in my head, like keep the same design, maybe make it a little bit bigger or a little bit more elaborate. But how cool would it have been? Because once we defeat this thing, and we'll get to how we defeat it, but once you defeat it, it knocks over the tower that we're on, and we all fall.
Yeah.
Right? How awesome would it be
Right.
if this thing with its gigantic wings just encase around us, and we're trapped, and he's closing
Ooh,
in and
yeah,
crushing the tower, and then finally he brings it
that's way
down.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hire me,
'cause
sabotage. I got
the
ideas.
right? The first time it crashed into the tower, I'm like, "What is going on? Did it
Right.
mean to do that?"
Right,
So stupid.
right,
Yes.
you do enough damage to it, and then it flies back, and then it just headbutts the tower, and then you're back to
Yes, and
battle. It's
I'm
just
like,
like
"Nothing happened." It was so weird. Yeah.
it was
It's
strange,
fine.
but
Yeah.
granted, this battle did have kind of a gimmick to it, which I thought was kinda cool. So, that Eclipse, tower gem thing that we talked about earlier, the our pals bring it up, and they set it up behind us before the battle starts, and if I'm remembering this correctly, the way you use this weapon is you need to charge it using basically energy from the monster, and the way that you would make this energy escape from the monster is doing elemental damage to it, basically using sun or
Yep.
moon magic against it. It actually starts to come up out of its base, and then once it gets to as high as it can go, it'll shoot this laser at the dweller and do like I don't know about you, but I had like 5,000 damage to this thing.
Yeah, it was about 5,000 every time. Yep.
Right. It was ridiculous, and we're over here like smacking this thing for like 3
Yeah,
damage.
like,
It's great.
7, 3,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, "Oh, great, okay."
Yeah, so it was interesting. You had to balance kind of how you used your elemental powers and keep yourself alive in the process. So I think as a battle, it was better than most, but not the best. I'd give it like a B plus, I think.
Yeah, just because of the gimmicky thing, like, it was like, "Okay, obviously, I'm not gonna win this battle." Right? I just have to feed the laser enough times to get it to wherever this fight needs to get to. So right, it was 3 shots with the laser,
Mhm.
and then we moved on. So,
Yep. So now everything starts to open up here story wise. So uh try to try to keep a straight face while I do this.
I know, this is terrible.
So the
I was
dweller,
not ready. I was not ready.
yeah, you're not ready
Ugh,
for this. So actually
no.
I'll say this one more time to anyone watching live or anyone that's watching later. This is like the story moment that you do not want
Yeah,
spoiled for yourself. So if you've not played this game and you intend to play this game, do not let us spoil this moment for you. Experience for yourself. Your your decision
sold
to
out.
remain here is yours. All right, let's get into this thing. So we don't defeat the dweller. We do enough to make him fly away for a moment, but I won't get into all the bits and pieces, just the high level stuff. But we finally get to meet the enemy that we're going after the entire game, the Fleshmancer. We
Yep.
finally see him in the what is it, tentacle
In
flesh
person? Yeah.
form, right? So his character design, and we'll have to get a screenshot to show everyone next stream. But his character design is it's he's hooded, he's cloaked, you can't see his face or anything. But when he moves around, he's got kind of like these
Yeah,
un
like little wiggly things,
tendril
yeah.
thingies. Like you can tell he's just a little.
He's
Ugh.
goopy. He sounds slithery when he moves. Yeah.
Yep, slithery little goopy, if you will. But him and Rashawn, they converse with each other because story wise, both of these two know each other, and are kind of not really at odds, but they're trying to keep things sort of in balance together.
Yeah.
The Fleshmancer certainly doesn't have the greatest of intentions. Rashawn kind of wants to keep a balance of time going, and for the most part, everything's a little balanced until things happen and the Fleshmancer starts to make his move, if you will. But what happens next, what we don't really prepare for, is the Fleshmancer decides that he's going to fire upon our heroes, basically. He's going to take us out. And he charges up this energy bolt and fires it. And then all of a sudden, Rashawn just snaps his fingers and stops time.
And it
And
was
it's,
one of the most beautiful things that has happened in the game. And the characters are even kind of meta about it. Like, I loved that. That they're just like chit-chatting, right, about the end of the world and being able to control time, and he even like praises Rashawn for figuring out how to do whatever it is, and he's like, "Oh, and this is so beautiful." And I'm like, "My God, yeah, it is." Like it was crazy. The
yeah,
whole 20 some hours has been building to this.
yeah,
Yeah.
these two characters, it's, I mean, a lot of stories have a very clear good guy, bad guy sort of motif, if you will. But for whatever reason, like, I never really got the impression after this exchange between Rashawn and the Fleshmancer that the Fleshmancer is inherently a bad guy. He's just got a
Right.
different way of doing the thing that he wants to do, which is still kind of ambiguous, I think, at this point. But there's
Yeah.
there's a respect between these two. But as this scene is going on, I look farther down the screen and realize what had happened when I blinked, because if you blink, you'll miss it, kind of thing. As
Yeah.
this energy beam starts coming towards our heroes, and right before Rashad stops time, Garl, that bastard, decides he's going to do what he normally does and be selfless and
Yeah.
just knock Zale and Valer out of the way, and he is ready to take this thing in the chest. And
Yep.
I'm thinking to myself, okay, Rashawn, stop time. We're fine. They're going to have their exchange, and it's going to be like, never mind, let them live, let them face me on their own accord. I'll beat them, whatever. It's going to be fine. Nope. Rashawn snaps his
Nope.
fingers. Time goes back to normal. Carl takes it to the chest, and
Yes.
it is not looking
It's
good.
bad. Yes.
When he got hit in the eye in the beginning of the story, it was pretty clear that this was pretty serious, but we were going to make it through, learn a lesson. It's going to define his character. Everything's going to be fine. But
Yeah.
in this moment, and I'm sure you felt it too, he's not making it out of
He's
this.
not fine. Yes. I thought that was gonna be it. That right? And the whole rest of the game was gonna be revenge. So, I guess
And
this is better, but
yeah, I agree, and we kind of see that with our main characters. Like, Zale kind of goes Super Saiyan, as it were, and
yeah.
he gets a burst of energy. He gets kind of a vision, and he knows that all of a sudden now, the Elder Mist speaks to him and says, "Garl can't go yet. He's got to see one more thing. Bring him to me." And
Yep.
we're miles away from where the Elder Mist is, but Zale gets his Super Saiyan powers and teleports to the Elder Mist's island, which Valir finds a way to do it herself. Sarai uses her Doctor Strange portals, and then Rashawn
Mhm.
transforms into one of the eagles from the
Times
Lord of the
him.
Rings.
Oh, that's right. He can do the eagle. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the other screenshot that's in there too. That's what my computer wallpaper is right now because it's gorgeous.
Oh,
Dang
is
it.
it?
Those those what I don't even the like overpowered,
Oh,
right?
there's.
Where he turns into the eagle and flies. Like, what? Who is
Yes.
responsible for this character? Amazing. High five that guy.
Yeah, he's
Because
he's
there's no
awesome.
reason. Yeah.
No, it was awesome. So we get back to the Elder Mist Island. We've got Garl. Zale has Garl. Valir. Everybody else arrives, and again, it's very clear that Garl is not making it out of this. And Rashawn walks up to him while Garl's kind of coming to terms with the fact that he's gonna die. Zale's crying. Valir's crying, and their sprites have like
Everyone's
tears coming out of them.
crying.
And
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't cry much because I'm a grown man, but I was actually playing this, um, sitting on the couch, and my wife Justine's like just sleeping on my shoulder, and I'm playing this with my earbuds in, and like I feel the tears brimming up, and I'm like, no, nope, I don't want to explain to her what's happening.
It's really, oh, you playing your game? It's like, yeah, I got my stories on. Yep.
Yeah, It'll be fine. It'll be fine. But
Oh no.
Rashawn walks up to Garl, and all he says is, "I can't do it until you ask me."
To
And
ask.
that's where I got my moment of hope. Like, there's a way out of this. And
Right?
we get a flashback. I can't remember the name of the character, but there was another character we come across, I think, in the lake area, Dorcia.
Yeah, in the sunken city. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was their elder. Yes.
So he gives a prophecy to Garl, and it was something along the lines of, when the time comes, you need to ask for a vial of borrowed time.
Yes.
And Garl remembers this and immediately asks Rashawn for a vial of borrowed time, which Rashawn's like immediately like, "Here you go, got it."
Yeah.
And Garl isn't immediately healed, but he is now quite literally living on borrowed time.
Yeah.
He is existing between worlds now, more or less. He's in our world, but he's one step in the grave, basically. And
Mhm.
if correct me if I'm wrong, Lindsay, but the way I remember it is, our mission now is to cross this ethereal plane called the Sea of Stars
Sea of Stars.
to get to the world that the Fleshmancer resides in, so we can basically put our boot in
Mm.
his ass and take
Yes.
him out. But we don't know how to get there, but somehow Garl knows the way after a vision he got. So
Yes.
as long as we're working towards basically Garl's mission or reason for living on borrowed time, he can stay with
Mhm.
us. But I get the impression that once we complete this task, once we cross the Sea of
Yeah.
Stars, we're gonna lose him. And
Mhm.
I part of me thinks there's a way out. There's always a way out, but at the same
Right?
time, I don't know. I mean, if you had to put money on it right now, Lindsay, are we losing Garl or are we gonna get him back?
Oh my gosh. No, that would make sense that we get, and maybe it's well, of course it's going to be a multi-stage final boss battle.
Yeah.
Um against right, our fleshmancer friend, and then right, he's taken Erlina on now as like his right-hand guy.
Mhm.
Um I don't I don't know. I think maybe Garl, because I'm trying to remember exactly what did he say his goal is to get us to that guy, or his goal is to help us defeat this guy?
My From what I remember, I thought his goal was just to get us across the Sea of
To get
Stars.
us there. Okay.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. My vision was blurry from the not tears I had, so
I know.
yeah.
It was terrible because every time the sprites would talk, like there'd be more tears and they'd change. It was like, no, stop crying. No.
I
Um,
I think what'll
yeah.
always stick with me, and maybe we'll title. I've got a great idea. If we pull all these episodes that we've done into a series, I'd like to call it "Let's Make It Count," because that's
Right.
when Garl, of course, realizes what's going on, and he immediately is like, "Okay, I'm on borrowed time. Let's do the thing and get going." And Zale and Valir are like,
Right.
"Bro, slow down.
Right.
Do you
They're still
realize what?"
crying. Yeah.
Right, but Garl,
Right.
again, which makes him a great character, he pulls everybody back, and he's like, "Hey, I'm not supposed to be here, but we've got this chance to set everything right. Let's make it count." And Valir
Yeah.
says it, and then Zale says it, and then it's like, "Okay, now
Yeah, let's go.
let's
Yes.
go." So it's like with a heavy heart, we continue our journey. We know that Garl's not going to be with us, but that's okay. We're going to make it count and make the time that we have
Yeah.
together meaningful, which I thought, now I know why people say that this game is great, especially from a story perspective. It took us a while to
Yeah.
get there, but we're here now.
Right. And that's all I wanna do. Like, let's go. How are
Yeah.
we gonna do this? How are we gonna accomplish this? Yeah.
Yeah, and whether Garl gets saved or not, right now it feels like there's actual real stakes here. It's really not just the end of the world
Yeah.
anymore that we're trying to prevent. It's like now we as players are we love this dude. We love Garl.
Yeah.
So we want to do everything we can to, if we can save him, great, but if not, we're gonna make the most of it. So I'm
Right.
all in. I am all in. So I had one more thing I wanted to ask you now that we've kind of talked about this roller coaster of emotions here.
Yes.
I know we're going a little longer than we normally do. Those of you hanging out with us,
Are
thanks for
we?
hanging
Oh
out with us.
man.
Yeah, we're at
Yeah.
an hour and 15. We normally keep these to about an hour just to be mindful of
Dang.
everyone's time, but we're in this.
This is
So
important tonight. We got to talk about Carl.
so the last thing I kind of want to pick your brain on, and I'm not sure really where I fall in line with this, so I'm just kind of curious your thoughts.
Mhm.
So we're to a point now where the story, the bits and pieces are kind of coming together, but there's two
Yeah.
kind of threads that I have in my mind when it comes to the story. One, we've got kind of the surface level, save the world, save Garl, spend what time we have with him, that earthly kind of bond and just camaraderie and go accomplish a mission and do a thing. If the story only had that, I think I would be completely satisfied. But there's also
Yeah.
there's also that higher level, the time manipulation, the relationship between the Fleshmancer and Rashawn and kind of their enemies, but not really, that kind of thing. I'm still a little
Mhm.
lost on really what it all means, and maybe it'll be made clear, but I I am kind of okay if this game did not have that plot line or any semblance
Yeah.
of it. Um, what do you think?
I feel you. Well, because I think it's right. So they have done absolutely everything they can since the very beginning to make Garl everything that you could want him to be, right? So now that we're kind of seeing his story play out, that's why I want to know. I want to know what's going to happen to Garl. Um, but like the overarching, right? It's kind of like a God's story, right? Like these people who don't even exist on the same plane as our main characters, right, are capable of doing these things. Um, yeah, like why? Why are they bothering? Um, and I am a little bit ahead of you. So I know a little bit more. Um, and I know a little bit more enough that I want to keep knowing. Um, they did not cut corners when they wrote this story. I am so excited. And I almost wish there was like a manga version of it. Like I want a comic book of this story so that
Yeah.
I can revisit it um without having to sit down and play it. Because it's great. And the kids have gotten to where they know, especially if I'm doing something or if I'm in the car and I've got the volume really high, right? You can kind of tell things are going on. They'll ask because they know the story is so engaging. Um, yeah, they're very much are still two levels, and they're trying to bring them together right when we had the Fleshmancer like kind of show up and officially, right, like take the other Solstice warriors and take everybody to the Triangle Land. I don't even remember what they called it. Um,
I don't either.
yeah, so, like, the stakes are super high. So it's like, "Great, we're all going." We don't even know what the Sea of Stars is, right? None of these characters even knew what that was, but Garl had a vision, so now we're gonna go. So, then that's fine.
Yeah, we are almost there. So
Yeah.
anytime you save your game, the game kind of titles your save based on kind of where you're at with the plot. And
Yeah.
I have a list of those as a way to kind of keep track of our progress. And we're down to the last 13 of these. We are in the home stretch. I'm thinking, depending on what kind of time we can commit, I'll bet you we've got maybe two more streams and we'll be done. Maybe, but we'll see. This will be
Man.
interesting. This will be interesting. So
And then people will stop asking, "What are you guys gonna play next?"
that's
I don't know.
all right. But we'll figure it out when we get there. Right now, we have to save Garl,
Right?
save the world, and look cool while we do it. So, all right, Lindsay, I think that's a good place to stop. Do you have any final
Yeah.
thoughts or anything that you want to throw out before we wrap this puppy up?
I'm trying to think. Did you do No, I think that's it. Yeah, because you kinda Garl has his vision, and it's like, shoop, 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 and it kind of shows you where all you're going. And so that's been interesting to have it so I kind of know where I am, and I don't know, part of me wants to cheat and like go look it up on YouTube so I can see all the kind of like screenshots that he gives you as you're going through his vision so that I
Yeah.
kind of know where I am. I might just so that I kind of have my because I think there's like 5 or 6 steps. Um,
Yeah, I think you're right.
yeah. I'm curious to see how we're gonna kind of flow through all of this. So
Yeah, and there's some little things I want to make sure that I do. I want to continue to look for rainbow conch shells if I can. I want to fill out the town of Mirth. I
mhm.
mean, we're getting to that end game now where it's like, do we continue on and finish the story, or do we want to wrap up side quests? It's classic RPG kind of stuff. So we'll have to make sure we're talking to each other so we know what we're kind of doing too. So,
Yeah.
but it'd be good. So, all right, y'all, it's time for us to say goodnight. But before we do, first and foremost, thank you very much for hanging out with us this evening,
Yay.
chatting some Sea of Stars and letting us gush over this game that we love. Really, it's been a roller coaster of emotions, which is awesome. We're finally getting to the end, and it's been a blast having you guys along for the ride with us. If this happens to be your very first time that you're watching this, welcome. Uh, just to let you know
Yeah.
who we are really, and it's actually the first time I noticed that this is how you can tell that we're still relatively new to this. I didn't even put what our names are. There's our names right there. Bam.
Hey, there we are.
So my name is Frank. I
Hi.
have a podcast called The Retro Wildlands where I go by the moniker Nomad because I'm roaming them wildlands. Briefly, if you're interested in checking out a retro video game podcast, I am playing old retro video games that I missed out on as a kid, and I'm playing them, but I'm also talking about them on my show. But more than that, I am taking you into the game with me with music and sound effects. We're actually playing the game together. It sounds cooler than I'm making it sound. Give it a chance if you're bored.
It's really fun.
So we're on all the major pod platforms. I made sure to slot myself into all the ones I could find that'll have me. I also have a YouTube channel where I've got a couple game reviews for specific games that really meant something to me that I wanted to talk about. So I'm around. Would love to have you. Follow me on those platforms if you'd like. LL Cool Games, where can people find you and what do you do?
I am LL Cool Games on Facebook, and I'm Lindsay LL Cool Games on Instagram and YouTube. If you are on Facebook, please God, go follow me so that I can get over 100 so that I can, gosh, so I can finally stream. I'm excited. Let's go.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be awesome. Go follow Lindsay on Facebook. Get her over the hump. Let's get there.
Yes.
So, but all right. That is it. Thank you all very much for hanging out. Vindictive, Retro Rob, Sir Lady Gaming. I know you were there. Thank you, Vindictive. I appreciate
Thank
hey,
you.
we like you. You're awesome. All right. Until next time, we'll be back again next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we're going
Yeah.
to continue our journey through Sea of Stars. We will see you then.